Here we go. We are miners. All right, that's on. Boom, done. Give me a link to share this beast. It's all going off at the same time. Do 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 do. Just can't believe we just did that, but I needed some people to come watch it. Ha! Alrighty then, let's see what we've got going on here. I'm still twisted. This is how raw this is. I'm all twisted up. Here we go.
Good evening, sir.
Kung Fu Stew is in the house. Hopefully I can hear him. Hang on.
Oh no, do I need headphones?
Here he is. Hello, mate.
How are you doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you better than I could hear Sean Daly the other day.
Oh, good. All right. Well, I can hear you. You're faint. As long as you can hear me, because I don't have headphones.
Let me just turn up my microphone a little bit. How's that? That much better?
Not much better, no.
Oh.
But okay. It's fine. How are you, sir? You are looking very suave. I mean, must be some momentous occasion, right? You suited, I'm suited. I mean,
yeah. I thought to myself, I could get changed. I could put on a Hawaiian shirt, but then I thought, no, I'll just stay as I am. I'll just go dapper. I will just go dapper.
Love it, mate. Love it. So, we're not live yet, by the way, are we?
Oh no, we are.
You've done it again.
I just hit the button because there's so many different bits to this that I just like got to go, and it's gonna take a few minutes for people to turn up anyway.
Fantastic. Yeah. Have you said anything yet on the group?
No, I've sent a message
you just put it on.
In the highlights.
Nice. I'm actually gonna, now that I've finally got this set up on my computer, I can get some things to look at. Greatland Gold.
Do you know what? I was just doing exactly the same thing.
The newest miner. So exciting. What a journey.
It's been absolutely crazy.
It's been really my investment life. I've dabbled and lost in various AIM things for a couple of years, and then consolidated my losses into an all-in play on GGP. Just as Newmont walked away the first time.
Isn't it funny though that's
the only reason I stayed was because I had nothing left. I had about 400 quid. And then thankfully when they hit a variant, it didn't really go very far, very fast.
Is it ironic though that it's Newmont that have saved us effectively after they trashed us last time?
Quite something, mate. It sort of plays into the contrarian narrative you should always second guess yourself with, because we thought Newcrest was the white knight and Newmont was the devil, and look where we are today. Quite the opposite, right?
Indeed.
Glenn says a Windsor knot for the next show. And we actually following the comments this evening.
We're going to try to, we're going to try and include as many people as we can. I've got a fancy. I know I've got a fancy knot. So when I used to work one of my airlines used to work out the security officer, as it were. Like the airline had a security officer. He was originally in the SAS. Okay. And I put a tie on one day, as I would, the way I used to tie my knot when I was in school. And he absolutely tore me a new one for being basically a shit and not tying a tie correctly. So he promptly then taught me how to tie a tie correctly. No idea what this one is, but this is
that is called a I think that's a double Windsor, if I'm not mistaken. But
I've gone round and all sorts.
It's a properly tied tie, and I was having gone to boarding school. You don't get away with tying one of those skew things that goes down the side. No chance. You need to know how to do a hospital corner on a bed, and you need to know how to tie a tie.
There's some delay going on here between my YouTube and what we're talking about, but it's all good. So there's a couple of people in the chat. Actually, there's like 35 people in the chat. Hello, 35 people. How are you? If you're there in tonight, please say hello, and please let us know if you can hear us / not hear us, because we need to know. Because we literally just turned this on and have gone live without any forethought at all as to anything, really. So
I think I've got the chat app in there. I've got the group open next to me here. So
lovely.
If anyone's not asleep already, then. So I haven't actually had a chance. I've been massively busy at work, so I haven't read any of the supplementary admission document, which I have.
See, maybe that's where we should start, because that's a really interesting document. There's lots of tidbits of information.
007 can hear us. How's it going, buddy?
I can take you through that, as we quite often like something to read, don't we? So I can do that. That's not a problem at all. So if I come back in here, so what should we do? Should we give it like 1 more minute and then just go for it?
Yeah, why not? Let's find a few interesting things. I haven't even looked in this document, so I'm just going to do a quick skim and Control F and see what we've got. But
I've got my last Javier and gold.
Look at that! Well, I'm true to form. I probably shouldn't have any more of this, truth be told. I have partaked at 2 separate occasions during my work day today, because that's insurance in the city for you. That is work. But it's the night before we become miners. I mean, what I really wanted was sleep, but sleep when you're dead.
I think so. Right.
What a journey. Well done, all GGPers. We are miners, says Ad 007. We are.
I'll leave you with Telegram. I'll keep my eye on YouTube. We've got, and I really hope I don't say this right. I hate getting these kind of things. This Swati. Oh, Struth, I've just absolutely trashed that. I'm so sorry. Genuinely so sorry for getting that wrong if I have. We've got Chris, we've got Tony, and we've got Stuart Hines in the house as well.
Stewie, welcome, my friend. All these years being our leader on Twitter.
Stuart is more louder than Liam. Well, Liam will have to turn his gain up a little bit. How's that, Gaga? I hope that's better.
Give us some feedback. I'll try and turn mine down slightly.
Yeah, there's a hella delay on YouTube, so we need to be aware that we're like 4 minutes ahead of everybody else, something crazy like that. So anyway, let's just start from the beginning. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to GGPHelp TV Live. My name's Liam. I'm your host, and with me, as always, is my co-host Stu and his bottle of red. Stu, what have you got this evening, sir? What plonk do you have for this momentous occasion?
We have a Chateau Saint Michel from Colombia, a Cabernet Sauvignon.
Lovely. And is that from the co-op, or have you got that from?
I'm glad you asked. It's from the Virgin Wine Club in a mixed 12-pack of red.
Oh, we love a mixed 12-pack in our house. We
selectively chosen by yours truly due to the price.
Okay, that's awesome.
To be fair, I did have a very nice. Well, I do have a very nice bottle upstairs, but as I say, it's been a long day. I'm going to save that for maybe for tomorrow when I can appreciate the taste a little more.
Bellas has joined us as well. Good evening, Bellas.
Evening, Stu. What fabulous wine do you have? Beautiful. Yeah, and you know what? Ooh, that is nice. I haven't had a Colombian wine before, as far as I know.
Okay, so I hope, first of all, Stu, I hope you're well, and that the family's all good, because obviously we're both like ships in the night at the moment, where we both work like crazy and we don't actually get a chance to sit down to talk to each other. So hopefully your family is well, sir.
Likewise, they are. They're the two little ones keep me on my toes, and the 26-year-old knocks me back down when when I need it to. It's been a full-on year, just like I'm sure it has. We always see people in the chat, so many things going on, so many bereavements, so many situations. It's easy to forget it's such a human game what we do, and such an inhuman game what we do at the same time. I think you've got to extricate yourself from the wider thing and just stay in your lane every now and then.
No, that's absolutely true, and it is easy to forget that there's humans on the end of these messages that we see every day. It doesn't matter where you reside, be it Telegram, LSE, ADFN, any other chat board. You just see names, don't you? You don't see the people. So
Well, thankfully, with this share, we've been brought together. I mean, it's worth reminiscing over that. You've travelled all the way up to where
I've been up to Stirling in Scotland, and I've been down as far as Stroud in Gloucestershire, and obviously to the nation's capital. So
I mean, try to tell the 18-year-old you that you'd meet some people on a chat board and throw money at a bit of dirt in Australia and end up knowing hundreds of them personally, helping thousands of them personally, and traveling around, breaking your wife's leg, seeing people. Yeah, would have thought.
I have a habit of doing this. I've done it for something else, not quite related to shares, but I went to Vegas. Let's leave that story there. That involved a lot of random people on the internet, and I guess it's how we ended up where we are, because if I hadn't have done all that, I wouldn't have done all the podcasts and have all the things to have this our TV show that we were putting out regularly every 6 weeks without question.
Oh, it was fun. I think that's where we start tonight. We reminisce. I mean, who remembers in the very early days was obviously all about the satellite, and you know what? That was the first time as an investor where Paddy Goal, it was on there, and we were on Sentinel, and it was all. It felt like the first time I played Tetris or Pac-Man, or I just felt like so out of my depth. But the fact that we could sort of see these holes going in, identify them by satellite, and then get these results 6 weeks later, obviously, especially after I had 5. Yep. Which is such a unique thing in my investing experience, where you sort of had this forewarning of something, which got more and more exciting. And I guess in hindsight, I was just there for the ride, but I didn't know it had 5. How amazing that drill result was. I did know enough, thankfully, after suffering for a year or two before, that was a discovery hole. That was a huge discovery hole, and if there was even a little bit around it in those sort of lengths, it would be a mineable deposit even at that depth. So, but then of course I second guessed everything when the price didn't really move. We went from under half of 1 penny up to about 1.5 pennies, and then back down to 1.2 pennies. Christ, this is after I had 5. I think it was after the second set even. There was certainly time back then, time to doubt yourself. And I think that's an important message, because me, you, everybody was expecting a re-rate, probably Monday, when they, gave us a definitive date 2 bloody days away, and now everyone's going to probably expect a re-rate tomorrow, and it's probably not going to happen. I think my money is, if I was on Polymarket on crypto right now, I reckon we're worse odds than Kamala for. Sorry, I had to throw that one in there. Sorry. Okay. But we're worse odds than Kamala for it to bash up to 9-10 p. It's not going to happen. We know that. All the big boys who could do that with a market cap the size of this company now are in. Believe me, they're in. And unfortunately, they're probably in much cheaper than all of us. But they're generally stickier hands. So I expect less volatility going forward. And the only way to really re-rate and create value is to go up slowly. So, I would love us to go to over 8p tomorrow. I don't see it happening. I do see potentially a 3%, 5% drop when all is said and done as a worst case scenario. I definitely don't see that, oh my God, we're giving 20% more shares, then we're going to drop by 20%. That's not going to happen. As you saw in the admission document, what's it, 944, 844, 944?
Yeah, somewhere around there. I did have it open somewhere.
944, I think, because I remember how close it was to $1 billion.
While I look for it, Rational Assessors just said something pretty interesting as a tidbit of fact in our chat there, the Greatland Gold chat. What's he said?
I can't actually find what he said. Okay, no, there's not too much going on in the chat. Let's see, where's RA? Is he in? I can't find RA.
Oh, well, he's just said market cap in early 2011 was an Australian 115 million.
GGP?
Yeah.
Wow. So what happened?
Crazy. That's crazy, isn't it?
It wasn't 115 million when I invested, it was less.
But that wasn't in 2011, was it?
And so that's very interesting because I wonder what they had back then. I kind of joined for EG, for Ernest Giles, when old Newmont were doing their deep sensing, what was it? DSG, deep sensing geo surveying, something along those lines. But what was interesting, when I went to a town hall, I asked SD that question and he dodged it. It'd be quite interesting now to find out, but I'm pretty sure that considering Newmont own 20% of us now, they'd be quite willing to share some deep sensing ground, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, I'm still excited to find out about EG, because that's a whole new story that no one's even spoken about.
Well, I think what also no one's spoken about the fact that Newmont do now own 20% of us. They've got an orderly market condition, which is 1 or 2 years. They're not the type of company that just throws away essentially a royalty in a 20-year mine life asset. So, and with the relationship that they've clearly got, which is clearly very good, just think of us leveraging their expertise with things like this deep sensing technology, with things like if we want to build a block cave, because that was one of the things I was worried about. If Newcrest is no more, Newcrest were one of the foremost experts in block caving. So who's now? And that's Newmont. Newmont's bought them, and now they own 20% of us. So we haven't lost those block caving abilities. So yeah, I think that's something to think about. They're going to own, what's it, 20.4%. That's a
yes, yeah, I've just been corrected because he was talking about Northern Star.
Not GGP, Northern Star.
And I've just literally been dumped is not the right word, sent a message from a big fan of the show, old-time co-host and guest of the show.
Where is he?
Bamps has just said Wenu has got some big news that's just come out. So we'll need to look into that as well.
Let's get on Googs and see what's happening there. I thought you were talking about Magic there for a second.
No, Magic apparently sends his congratulations with Magic's papa. So anyway, look, I've pulled up this document and I was just going to go through some
52 minutes ago, there's something on Wenu here. Rio Tinto and Sumitomo Metal Mining to partner on Wenu Copper Gold Project. 52 minutes ago, so that's interesting. Rio Tinto and Sumitomo Metal Mining have signed a term sheet for a joint venture to deliver Wenu Copper Gold Project located in the Great Sandy Desert of Western Australia. Under the term sheet, which includes exclusivity obligations to work towards binding definitive agreement, Rio Tinto will continue to develop and operate Wenu as a managing partner, and SMM will pay Rio Tinto $400 million. Wow. For a 30% equity share of the project. This includes $195 million upfront and $204 million in deferred considerations, contingent on milestones and adjustments to be agreed. The partners have also entered into a letter of intent to develop a broader strategic partnership to work together, explore opportunities for commercial, technical, and strategic collaboration across copper and other base metals and lithium. Blah blah. Wenu project attractive risk, long life copper by Rio Tinto, 2017. Finalized agreements, joint project venture in the first half of 2025. Pre-feasibility study to develop initial processing capacity of up to 10 megatons per annum is expected to be completed in 2025, along with environmental review documents, EPA, environmental impact assessment process, so early stages. Blah, 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 progress 2024. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Very interesting shit. That is a lot of money.
They've paid $400 million
for 30%.
For 30% in a project that's not even.
We paid 495 million for 70% of Bavarian and
the working mill.
With all of that covered by the stockpile as well. So free. We got everything for free.
And they don't even know if
15 months and nothing goes wrong.
And there's no guarantees, because if that's PFS, they might turn around and say, well, actually, no, this project's not viable. I mean, it might be. It's Wenu, but do you know what I mean? Like,
it's just quite unreal. And I think it's worth going over a few of the things that people have calculated. So 426,000 ounces gold equivalent for 15 months is 28,400 gold equivalent ounces per month. All-in sustaining cost, as described, is 1,454. So price of gold, assume it's 2,500. We've hedged below that. So 1,046 ounce profit, $1,046 profit per ounce. Do the math, at $29.7 million of income a month. And that is profit, because you're using an all-in sustaining cost. So from now, because it's, the 3rd, until we go back, when we get back to work, GGP would have made 30 million.
Can I just check? This is Australian dollars, right?
I think that is Australian.
It must be.
No. That's actual dollars.
That's actual dollars.
That's actual dollars. So, yeah. That's going to be difficult being a UK shareholder going forward with Sean, because he's clearly gonna be speaking and thinking in Aussie dollars, and I can't just do the mental arithmetic straight like that. I can do it at 24-1 to the rand in South Africa. I can do it with the euro. I can do it with the pound and the dollar. But my God, as soon as I get to the Australian dollar, just the word dollar and it meaning something else is tough.
Well, let's just have a quick look. So, actually, you just double it. Right now, today, you can double it. 195 Australian dollars is £100.
Okay, perfect. Just double it.
Or £100 is 195 Australian dollars.
So actually, nearing 60 million Australian dollars just from now through Christmas, and that's just 1 month.
Yeah.
And today we had $100 million debt facility signed off. So by March we'll have that and don't need it. I think we're so cash rich. What's nice about now is obviously not the fucking share price, excuse my French. Well, YouTube's gonna ban me. But are you still there, Liam?
I'm here.
You froze. Oh, there we go.
That's all right. I'm just the producer has gone into producer mode, has now started dumping messages into my DMs.
All right. Well, you read those. You read those, because I think what's obviously not nice is the share price, but what is nice is the whole journey we've come through. Now what we know is coming, that we can hopefully believe and rely in that plan. I don't think we're going to miss too many deadlines and timelines going forward. And we are now in, yes, the institutions are into, but we are now in, and it should be only up from here. The worst is over. We can say that. We can really say that. I believe that. I'm all in on that. And it really, to become a miner overnight, earning 30 million a month at the moment, I think gold price continues, and that's huge upside. And I don't know if anyone else watched the Rick Rule interviews, but I love him. He's one of the ones who got me into mining, and also, sorry, not Rick Rule, the Franco Nevada.
Yes.
Pierre Lassonde, my man, Lassonde. And he said everything about what they've made money-wise is optionality. He said it's, you get in mining, you get to pay a hugely discounted rate for this hugely undefined asset in the ground, and you get it for basically free. You don't have to pay for any of the sister deposits over the next 20 years. You don't have to pay for it getting any bigger. All of the optionality, all of that, this hub and spoke thing Sean keeps talking about, that's optionality. These 4,000 square kilometers of exploration tenure, that's optionality. These West Dome and unloved Telfer plant with the Stockpile, that's optionality. None of that's priced in. And I really believe if we can sit here for the next year, we'll finally, this will behave like it should behave, and the weighing machine will become just that.
And let's be honest, when I sat down with Sean a week and a half ago now to talk this through, he alluded, and I wished I could have made it more casual and more personal with him. Because he said, when I joined this company 3 years ago, I had the idea, right? Which meant that idea of owning Telfer was his plan from the absolute day he joined this company. That was his goal. He could see a route to doing another.
And I think some of us could, when you saw the board being assembled, it was quite obvious that this was not a board for a non-large mining company, for a minority single asset company. It was clearly not, but none of us really believed he pulled it off. And I think after the 5%, when the penny dropped and we weren't paid our 300 million and got our free ride to doing nothing and owning 30%, and we all dropped down and realized we're retail investors without a fucking clue. After that happened, and Sean rescued us. And we all slapped ourselves on the back of the head and decided to do a little more research and pay more attention next time. I still didn't think he'd get us here. I didn't think it would be for such a good deal. And what I also definitely didn't see, because I didn't want to take Telfer. All I knew was it had a massive liability. It was the end of its life. I didn't know what end of its life means for a major who doesn't want to allocate capital to that asset anymore when they have many others to allocate that to.
It's like I didn't realize
what optionality is left behind.
No, and it's like an old car, isn't it? Because just because you've had a car for 6 years that you've had from brand new and your term's up, you're done with it. That's it. It goes. But actually, your car has got so much more life after that. Because
it's a great analogy. We had our Ford Focus for 9 years. I bought it for £800.
Wow.
We had it for 9 years. We serviced it. It never broke down. It was perfect. And I sold it for £1,000.
That's awesome.
9 years later. Do you know what I mean? It's exactly that. There's it's a great analogy, because I think that's, if something, again, what I didn't understand and still to this day can't, but it's the only excuse we've got, is that Newcrest didn't take the 5%. Obviously at that stage, maybe Sandeep was out, maybe things had changed we didn't know about, but that out of my entire investing career, whether it's crypto, anything I've ever done and lost and made, that was the biggest smack in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Like I could never, like, I don't know, if somebody had said to me, like, bet your mortgage, that they will definitely not take the 5% at 60 million, I probably would have bet my mortgage. I mean, and that taught me a big lesson to never be confident about anything. Question the things you think are most certain.
What got me there was when it was our town hall, and Sean alluded to the fact that he was sat in front of his computer that morning, and he learned about that 5% through an RNS at the same time as we would have done. He didn't even realise that Newcrest were not taking the option, and that blew my mind that he didn't know that up ahead of time. I would have genuinely have thought that. Sorry, producer's talking to me.
I know, he's distracting me. I'm trying to listen to you and he's distracting me.
He's just said, talking about Telfer, it was a dripping roast. I said, dripping? What's that? He said, lots.
But also, what's this? Newmont have agreed a deal to sell Firetrail up to 50% of their shares. Where does he see that?
I don't know. What's Firetrail? I've got so much going on in my head right now.
007, where do you see that? Give us a Oh, well, let me see if Google's got it.
So let me just keep going there. So yeah, that blew my mind that Sean didn't even realise. Stu Hines says there's been a miner working on Javier on block caving for the last 18 months. It's going to happen. Whether Stu Woos and my liver last another 20 years is up for debate. I'll drink. Oh, I'll drink
to that. You, sir.
Cheers to you. Yeah, cheers. And actually, to be fair, Mr. Hines has done.
He has done a lot for
the community,
all of us,
a lot. Just dropping photos. You know,
I think he was probably also one of the first to have made contact, kind of normalized it in a public way.
Yeah. So.
And a lot of other people have made contacts. I think maybe as a result of that being okay. I don't know, but that some of those contacts have been refreshing information, sometimes scary information, but they've certainly helped. I think much better than the conjecture thrown around on GGP, on the chat board. So it's been nice, and I think sometimes you just want to see something. You want to see what you're invested in. You want a visceral.
And that's something I've said to the company a lot, especially in the meetings that I've had about media. Obviously, not gonna, but we have had them. And the one thing I do say regularly is we need to see what's going on. We don't need like a webcam or something, but just some pictures every quarter of what we own. And apparently,
just have a site gallery now. You're now a miner. The website's going to need a little overhaul, and just pop in a site gallery. Have the mess hall there. Have a nice sunset. Have a night parrot with a dagger through its heart. I don't know. To have something.
Oh, I agree. A picture of a Christmas tree would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, something like that, because it makes it real, doesn't it? Because it's really hard when you're a shareholder to own shares in something, and especially as a lot of us have probably put in a lot more money than we really should have done.
Got you. Yes, Wiley. Yes, Wiley.
Okay.
Not Fire Trail. That's why I got confused. I was like, "What? Fire Trail? No. That's Wiley."
Yeah. We've probably put in a lot more money than we really should have had. More money than we should have done, and to see something tangible to what your money is doing, I think it's meaningful.
I think what's difficult is I think the internet age has affected everyone throughout. You sort of look at your parents, or you look at maybe the older generation and think, they're slow on the internet, or they're slow on computers because they weren't around when they grew up. But I think when it comes to the pace of investing and how it's spread, whether it's crypto or retail investing, the spread of stocks and shares, ISAs, all of these things, the baby boomers and the demographics becoming retired all at once. What is stark to me, I have to say, is the average age of people at the town halls, which is got to be, you take 1 in 1,000 people, you've got 1,000 people is a good representation of the cohort, and we've got 100 there. So you can kind of deduct from there, and it is a lot of older people. It is a lot of pensioners. And that surprised me, because what it showed me is that, these are obviously also people on the chat boards. And what it shows me is, the basis and the barrier to technology is not really what it used to be just a decade ago. And it really transcends it. You can be caught up in a scam whether you're 80 or whether you're 12. There's not actually a lot of difference. It's just some interaction on a screen. And I have to say that's where I sort of think a bit, because now that I started my investing life, whereas I think a lot of investors here of that age maybe will have had a longer investing life. But remember, not most people gave their money away and other people invested it. Again, it's the last decade or two at most that people have taken that into their own hands. When I told my dad I was taking my 17-year pension into my own hands and do a sip here, he went berserk. He just said, "What are you doing? That's the most ridiculous thing." Imagine how he felt when I said I've put it all in on GGP.
Yeah. No, I hear you, buddy. I hear you.
But I think, what's obvious is that I think most retail investors did not understand the mining cycle when we got into this. And I think there was enough information there. There was the Lassonde curve. I tried to play it with, everyone did, and then Scally came. There was all sorts of different methodologies. I think the knowledge was there, but one thing I very much got wrong was the likely length of time in the trough. I sort of thought, if you could sell out on the way up or when it's just coming back down, then you can wait for it to go down and you can buy back here. What I didn't realize is back here is still the down part was actually 3 years. And then the across part is usually 3 to 6 years as well. We've fast tracked. Then that, if I ever put another son curve anywhere, I want to just annotate, 1 year, 3.5 years, 3.5 years.
Yeah, although, I mean, let's be honest. When we were there, when the PFS came out, we were all of the opinion 12 to 18 months we would have a feasibility study and we'd go mining. It was going to happen that quick, and I guess we all bought into the Newmont story of that's what they were going to do. No, not Newmont, sorry, Newcrest. And Newcrest were obviously trying.
Look, Sandy Balls was pretty pleased with himself, wasn't he?
We're going to drill the big Jesus out of it.
He seemed to agree with us that it was worth, pretending you were going to explore with a very big hole in the ground, that was clearly designed for trucks. We knew what was happening from then. I think it's time frames, right? I think with an exploration company, you can have a 1 year time frame because it's sort of 2 drilling passes, right? You can have a discovery hole, you can get your 10x, maybe your 20x, but I think there's a lot of people who are still here from that gambling exploration phase, and we're now moving into the next phase of that, which is just as exciting. And we've probably got to understand there will be diminishing returns. We're not going to do a 30x or 70x actually that we did this time. But we can do a 5 to 10x over a 5 year period, I think.
If things stay the same, but I've got a sneaky suspicion that's not the ambition here, is it?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think again, somebody posted the Northern Star journey earlier, and
well, that was your man, Mr.
It was producer man.
Yeah.
Let me see.
He needs a shout out. He's put in some
you're damn right. He has. Producer man, rational assessor. He's been a rock of exactly that, rationally assessing, and he's a very what would you say, a very wise old soul, isn't he?
He is.
We've had lots of stats in the admin group over the years, and there's pretty much only one person who manages not to offend either side whilst telling them reasonably bluntly where they're wrong. So I have to say
he's very good with his words, and he has been an absolute rock for myself over the last 3 or 4 years.
That's lovely to hear.
He has been a legend. He's someone I definitely want to
look at this, Liam. Look at the community you've built, my friend. Look at the community you've built. So here we go. I will remind you all. Oh no! Yes, sorry, that was the other part of it. So just been looking at Northern Star's history. Started as a miner in July 2010, when their share price was Australian dollars 0.05, so exactly 5 cents, so slightly above where ours is now. By November 2012, so in 2 years, the share price had risen to $1.53, from 5 cents to $1.53. Right, so 30x, 30 times. From 2012 to July 2016, they'd gone from $1.53 to $5.48. And from 2016 to 2019, they'd gone from $5.48 to $13.47. Now, and then he said, if SD can repeat this performance, then in 9 years' time, our share price could be £19.40.
I mean, I have said for a very, very long time that I am out at £13.65. I didn't actually expect that to... could you imagine it? Could you imagine? I mean, that's the thing, though, isn't it? The sky is the limit.
Look, it is, and I think there's a lesson to be learned there as well. You've got to have, if you're hoping to just, if it went up to 11p tomorrow and you thought it was going to come back down and you took some out, whatever you take out, keep that as your trading pot. Put it back in, put it back out, do whatever. But if you've been here this whole time, you're here long term. You must have suffered through all this.
It's hard, isn't it? At this point,
I think the key is you've got to be very careful not to sell out when you get what you wished for, because I'm sitting here and saying like 15 to 18p minimum by December next year. If we're not there, I really do need to rethink my long-term thesis, unless something's gone wrong with the plan, because then I think I'll be wrong if we're not up at those levels. But let's say we were 28p and it was all blue sky and fairies and roses. So let's say we were. I think one of the worst things you could do at that stage, without all the uncertainty of an exploration company like last time and COVID and all the other things that contributed to that bubble, I think the worst thing you could do would be to sell, because I think we might be going to £1.50 if we're 28p by next time. So it's worthwhile hanging on to let your winners run.
It's really hard, because I was having this conversation with Mrs. BR, let's just say at the weekend, and the poor lass, and I'm sure this is echoed up and down the country and around the world, she gave up her bathroom money for me to put it into GGP.
It was your bathroom too, yeah. I didn't give it up. I just postponed it as far as I could, and she made me sell at the 52-week low. So it feels like I gave it up, but yeah, I took the money out at the 52-week low, very, very upset after having said next year rodders, next month rodders, next year. No, so I hear you, brother.
That's yeah.
And bathrooms seem to be like only second to kitchens to wives, right?
I mean, what's interesting?
I hope that's not misogynistic, by the way. That's
any investor right now would do well to go and buy shares in any bathroom and kitchen company, because the Greatland Gold shareholders, as they start going through this.
And I don't think we're alone. I think there's been a lot of bathroom promises in the chat. I really do. There's been inheritance for the kids, and only second only to bathrooms for wives.
Yeah. So, and obviously at some point I've got to take some money out.
Yeah.
You can't just.
Well, my good friend and not my friend, but Raoul Paul, who I follow very closely on Real Vision, he calls them lifestyle chips, and I think that's so key. What are we doing in this life? Lifestyle chips aren't to buy things. Sometimes they are boats and houses and toys, but really they're for experiences. And if you can find something that you can roll your wealth in, keep taking out for that lifestyle. That's why you wanted to have money in the first place.
Yeah.
Don't just leave it all to someone else when you die, or get yourself to when you're 95 and a half and you can hardly walk to spend it. You're trying to amortize your wealth over your lifetime in the face of a hurdle rate of 8 to 14% in monetary debasement and inflation. So that it's a horrible thing to do, but you need to get a spreadsheet. That's what I've got. I've got a spreadsheet. It takes me to 100. I'm hopeful. I don't think the red wine's going to get me there if I carry on like I do. My wife had a bit of an intervention this weekend, and she was probably right. Christmas time in the city is not, something to behold. But that's what you've got to do. Sometimes you've got to put it all out on a spreadsheet, and then you can quite easily go in 2027. If we block cave and it's here, my wife gets the bathroom. Hopefully in 2025, sir, you will get the barbecue at least.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I reckon bathroom's got to come before the barbecue. Barbecue 28p was the promise. I can probably come lower than that now. I can probably come down a bit lower than that now, because of the fact that obviously I've bought more over the last however many years since making that announcement at 28p. I'll be having a barbecue. So but that's been part of the journey, isn't it? And there must be so many wives and spouses that get involved, and some don't get involved, and it's I don't know, this whole thing has become part of our family life story, I suppose, for us.
It's inescapable. It's been so long now. There's not really a share anymore. It's part of my life.
Community, isn't it? And I part of me does worry. I know it's going to happen, almost like when your daughter grows up and gets a first partner and all that whatnot. This is going to happen. We are going to lose our community as everybody moves on, and their price points are touched.
So I like to think there'll be others that join as people move on, and I hope that as people move on, it won't be like the poor people who've had to move on in the last 2 years of pain. Although I hope some of them got out at a higher price and they're grateful for it. But I do think I'm not going anywhere. It's in my pension, and so if it's got a 20-year mine life or a 30-year mine life, I think I'm going to see every ounce that's mined out of Havarian as an investor. I really will, and I hope to do just as I said, drip feed as slow as possible my lifestyle chips out of my pension and my ISA, where as I say, I'm all in for the long term. So that's the plan, and I think if you can drip feed out like that, you're good. But if you have to sell out, for someone like me, that would just be too much. I could never not be invested in GGP unless it disappeared. You can't unfind the gold. That was a nice saying I learned early on.
Yeah, you can't. And I can't help but feel, Stu, that Sean Day has every intention of finding more.
Well, did you think we'd be at 2,500? We're not. Well, 2,600 at the moment. Did you think we'd be here? I must admit, I did think in 2023, when we were supposed to have had first ore, that my excuse me, I got a bit of a cold, but my macro view was exactly this. My macro view and all the gold bug talking heads I watched with the melt up in stocks and the monetary debasement, macro view was that gold would hold its value and that it would lead the charge, and when it did, it would be a big move, not these up and down. It would go up by $1,000.
That's been really interesting, because there was a long time that I was a gold bug and I was sucking up all the Rick Raw and all the Daniela Cabone and all that, and they were talking about all that. 2003, there was up and up and up, and then I'm not gonna lie, I have said publicly more than once that actually I still think that gold is going to go down at some point very, very soon. But here we are, like 18 months later, and gold still hasn't gone down.
I think what you're missing with gold is, I think you're right on a technical aspect, and I know you've done a fair bit of work in learning how to technically not trade, but to understand technicals and charts, and so that's a logical thing to look at. But you've got to be using the 5,000-year chart with gold,
which is probably
and those people have lived through the 70s. They've lived through the revaluing from 32 to 800. Then they've lived through from the 800 to 2000 and the back to 1,200. Then they live from the 1,200 to 2000, and they've seen it, but they've seen it over 30 years. We've seen it over 8, and we've listened to talking heads, and so we just don't have the context of gold. No. And even something like Bitcoin, which I wholeheartedly believe in, and frankly would happily put, if I could buy it properly in an ISA, I would leave our beloved GGP with a few shares and I'd move it all to Bitcoin. So that's how much I believe in that side, but it still doesn't have what we have.
No,
it still has that uncertainty. It's still, you can still unfind it. Quantum computing could break it. Somehow it's still only 10 years old. It's not 5,000 years old. And when you look at how slow Bitcoin adoption actually is, it's about to hit 100,000 and it will go probably 124,000, I think, in the next month. And the world will try and jump in and everyone will start talking once it breaches that amount. And still you'll be 5 out of 100 people at work talking about it.
Yeah.
It's still, 1/4, not even a quarter, 1/5 of gold's market cap. And I think what people don't realize is that whilst technology moves, it actually doesn't move very fast. It's becoming exponential, but only in pockets throughout the world. And until everything augments itself and robotics combined with AI and everything joins together at the same time, which is happening, I think, over the next 5 to 10 years, we are super early in gold and commodities and in, I know not everyone's in crypto, but if you were in crypto, you're early. It doesn't feel, when you're in a place like that, it doesn't feel like you're early. It feels like it's crowded. But when you go out and speak about it, you realize that it's very early.
Yeah.
And I think, commodities, the writing's on the wall. You can see the supply shocks in front of you. I laughed. Did you see the biggest gold find ever in China this week?
You absolutely shot that down.
Hey?
You shot that down completely.
Oh gosh, but you didn't have to do too much research to realize they hadn't really done any drilling.
No.
And they were pontificating about, it's kind of like what, you always hear about the big gas fields outside of Gaza in the sea.
So
you're like, well, there's big gas fields and that's why all the, everything, but no one's drilled it.
No, not at all.
And we know how much drilling is needed to define a resource.
Absolutely. 325,000 meters, isn't it? That's pulling that out. I'm pulling that out.
There's a vein at 2,000 meters and one at 3,000 meters, which for the Chinese ain't no thing. Do you know what I mean? It's not a problem for the Chinese. That's not, that's, I think I being in crypto, I know how the Chinese operate. And the Chinese do not announce that discovery if they find it. No. I'll tell you that much.
No, absolutely.
They'll announce it when they've mined it. It's in their vault, and they want to move to a gold standard back currency with bricks or something like that. But they won't come out of it and announce it. And no matter how fast the Chinese can move, it'll still take them 10 years, and we're producing tomorrow.
Yeah. Speaking of tomorrow, IBAN has asked, when do you think the re-rate in Greatland will start?
I mean, that's very just up to our opinions, but let's get up the map of our, the timeline. Where is it? Corporate presentation? No, not May 24. That's too old, isn't it? Is it? Where's the slide? Where's the slide?
I've just had a bumps post dropped onto my feed here. It says Regis have just issued a presentation with new potential targets near Ernest Giles. They've announced 7 million ounces of resources, including 2.7 million in McPhillamys, which is not viable, so that makes it 4.3 million resources. Tropicana and Duketon projects are producing 418,000 ounces per annum. They've got a market cap of 1.9 billion or 972 million. They have 50% of Havieron resources without Telfer. Telfer to start producing at 400,000 ounces. Can you see where GGP are heading? So he's saying that they've got a market cap of 1.9 billion for approximately the same amount of gold, but they have no way of processing it yet.
Is that pounds yet?
Sorry?
Is that pounds or dollars, the 1.9 million? I'm going to assume
1.9 billion Australian dollars.
Right, so it's 900, so it's the same as us.
Same as us, but they don't have a mill.
And they've got half of the resource.
Yeah.
Wow. And of course, it's not just the mill, is it? I think what's very important, again, something not to be overlooked, you want to watch people like Rick Rule, you want to watch people like Ross Beatty, you want to watch mining magnates who are billionaires over 30 years of mining investing, and they'll all tell you the same thing. Do you know, I was very surprised to learn that they don't go with asset first. They go with management.
I mean, that's got to be key, isn't it?
It's got to be, but it's very counterintuitive. If you find me a 40 gram per ton fucking solid gold, I don't care who's managing it. Just give it to me. But actually, no, they place that at the top of their decision criteria. It's management, and it's good management, because the good management gets poached in mining. It moves around, and it's not like we've been poached a few Northern Star people or something like that. I mean, it's beautiful. It really is. Everything I've learned in the 10 years I've been in mining investing and listening to professionals like that I've done my 1,000 hours and then some. And it's management, and everything I've learned basically seems to be playing out in front of my eyes. If I were to create the perfect route, the perfect company, and if you could just stay the course, I think this is it. I've always thought this is it. I think it's what I sort of think back to Warren Buffett saying, if you should think about shares that like you can only invest in 10 your whole life.
Well, more importantly, newsflash, it's just been reported that GGP1, as I named it, has indeed left Perth for Telfer. And if sources are to be, I'm just listening now, if sources are to be understood, the management team is on board the aircraft and will be arriving in Telfer in approximately 1 hour, 37 minutes time.
Amazing.
And then
it really is monumental. I'm going to pour myself in. I
huge.
wasn't going to have 2 glasses, but
I mean, Chris Ferris was whinging that wine is not a scotch or is not a shot or a scotch. It should be drunk from a glass with a stem, with a face palm. But I think when you have endured what we have endured, I don't think the vessel.
Do you know what?
I've switched to tea now.
I would have called myself a Philistine a short time ago. However, he does not know how fucking clumsy I am.
I do. I've seen it.
Yeah. So you know.
In fact, it was the last show. The last show was a clumsy one.
Yeah, there's not a shirt that my wife hasn't had to put vanish on to try get some sort of red wine over. I mean, the most amazing story is somebody smashed a glass of red wine all over me, my white shirt, and during him begging me so that he could dry clean it and pay for a new shirt, I managed to gesticulate and smash one over him. To which we called it quits, and both went home with our wine-stained shirts. That's how clumsy I am.
If I'm not mistaken, you went to get a bottle of wine for a show and then probably dropped the bottle of wine on the way home from the shop.
2 bottles. There was There was a single bag. So yeah, single bag, and I've got 1 step just as you get into my house, and I think my wife had even actually opened the door, and I took 1 step. That was too much for the bag. Both smashed at our feet, and we just sort of looked at each other and went, "It's probably not meant to be tonight, is it?"
I shouldn't laugh. I should not laugh. But no, yes, I mean, let's be honest.
That's why I drink with a stemless glass. I totally agree. It's made for cognac, but I'm clumsy. I'm around my work PC, and yeah, I've got 3 screens I could destroy right in front of me.
You tried it last time as well. I mean, come back to this, and I think as we go through this, it's really important to look at our management structure and our management team, because that's really
it's everything. Now that the breadcrumbs are laid, and you look back, it's everything. It's the reason we're here. It's the Jimmy Wilson and everyone stands up in the room. It's the it's the Elizabeth Gaines, it's the Mark Barnabite. I mean, Christ, I know these people by name without looking anywhere. It was obvious from the start, but I think we have to. And this is the thing: Sean cannot control the share price. I love how everyone's jumping around. You know, Gervais did when he unceremoniously walked out the door. He managed to get an extra 2p, I think, with his little ramp whilst he dumped on us, but. All Sean can control is the long term, and I think if you give this guy 3 more years and then you judge him, you're going to want to have his babies.
Did you just say? Sorry, I'm now getting DMs from.
Yeah, I did say that. You're going to want to have his babies in 3 years' time.
Bamps has just sent me his little tidbit. Speedy Meady. Good evening, sir.
Lovely. He's my gold bug. He buys coins every month like I used to.
He knocked Bamps' wine over just before a presentation down in Stroud recently.
It was seconding for me.
So it's you're right. The management is key, and the fact that Sean put those people together with his vision, he's obviously sold them this vision, and they've been on board for that for the last 2 or 3 years. So for them, today must be a massive, massive occasion to have seen this from
think about their options. Just have a think about those people, who they are. We're moaning about the share price. You don't. Do you think they worried that about the 4.8p? Yeah, they got to buy a little extra. I mean, actually, did the board buy? I don't know if the board did buy it, like Elizabeth Gaines and all of them. I know management did, but I'm not sure the board did.
I can check for you. I've got it on a document here.
But just think about this, guys. 11p. These guys are mining magnates. 20, 30 years in. 10 baggers is common for them at this stage in their career, and some of them are nearing the ends of their career, and they've taken a lucrative position. A lucrative position in mining is at 3 to 5x minimum at this stage, and they've bought their options at 11p. So for those worrying, you're going to see that blown past in the next year. You are going to see that unless something horrible, one black swan or something horrible goes wrong. And I think that's 11p. They want 3x on that. So for me, it's 33p, and they're putting in a lot of money. This is millions of dollars if they get to buy them at 11p. They're not giving them. They're not giving them.
to be fair to him, Mark Barnaba has bought. He's only bought and only owns $100,000 worth of shares. So he's got 1.58 million shares to his name. Sean bought 1.5 million. Elizabeth bought 1.05 million. Jimmy and Paul bought 794,000 shares, and Yasmin bought 529,000 shares. So
it's all pretty reserved. And do you know what? Do you know what I have to say? Everyone's shouting about director buys and all this other shit. I'm going to corner Sean on the next town hall, and I'm going to ask him exactly this question. I'm going to say, would you have bought more in this last placing had it not been for the optics?
What do you mean by optics, just for me?
I mean, it would look very, very fucking bad if they all had 50 grand worth of shares from the 12p placing, and they all bought 3 million worth of shares in dollar value at the 4.8p placing.
So
those optics would look very. So I actually think it's understated. I think it's reserved because of the fact they have the 11p options. I don't think it's at first when I saw it, I went, that's child's play. That's ridiculous. I put my whole 17 years pension and I own more than the CEO. What's going on? You know, and yes, it's a lot of money, but it's also 17 years worth of pension. So it should be a lot of money for someone who's worked fucking hard. And I looked at those and it was a slap in the face. I was like, Christ, I still own more than the CEO. What do these guys believe in it, or don't they believe in it? And I think Sean will get there on performance options and awards over time, so he doesn't need to go crazy. And he's probably got the lifestyle chips. He's got some children. He wants to be, you know, use his money there. But I think the other ones, I think they didn't buy more because of the optics. I think if they each put in a mil at 4.8, it's not looking good. That's yes, it's a vote of confidence in the company, but we all know how undervalued 4.8 was. You know, if the market wasn't on AIM, we would have been 10.8, raising half the amount of share dilution.
The producer said he has actually said that he held back because they didn't want to take too much out of the retail offer. So they've let us have it at their expense, I guess. But then Sean's got 100 million options in shares, which if he delivers, I will hand them to him myself on a plate. Do you know what I mean? Like with a Freddo Frog for dessert, obviously.
And 100 million, you know, you're gonna be good if you get us back to 33p there, right?
Yeah, wow. You totally have. So there are a few things still outstanding on this. On this deal. So the deal has been completed, but there are still some tidying up things to be done. I'm just trying to look at it now and find the right page, because there's one.
In the meantime, I'm gonna answer what I'm on the acquisition side. Thanks, Dip. I'm going to answer what people said earlier. What do we see? And you know, this is subjective in share price and what have you. And you know, I think we hover between 3% and 5% up or down tomorrow. It's just going to be a nothing. It's just going to be a nothing burger.
Can I just I don't like saying it. Well, I'm going to say it, but I don't like saying it. But there's no other way to describe it. I would not be surprised if you get a slut drop at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Just boom, 15% straight off the bat. Not that that's their intention to keep it there. They just want to rob you blind. They want to.
I think you end the day largely flat, slightly up or slightly down. And whatever happens could be a 10% swing either direction during the day, because the MMs know this is what they do. I watch a guy on YouTube on the crypto side who used to be a market maker, and he discusses these things. And it's liquidity provision. It's up or down as much shares as they can churn with the available market. So it's totally non-subjective. That's why it doesn't need to be a buy or a sell, because it's all non-subjective. They can move it whichever way they want according to supply and demand at that very minute. So it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter for any of our long-term holders, but of course it matters. I want to see blue on my screen. I don't want to see red. And when I'm in a bad mood and it's red and I lose thousands of pounds on the train into work, it sucks balls.
Oh, mate, I tell you.
I don't love it. But I do love being more and more confident with my own research that I've picked the right commodity with copper. Don't forget the copper. And that I've picked the right company. And now that we've gone through all the pain, and it's been pain, just look at this pathway. So let's assume tomorrow it's a nothing burger. When are we going to move? So we complete now, 2024. Then 2025 contains an item right the way down the list.
I reckon by 2025 you're going to be knocking on a door of double digits purely because it's an interest piece. People will own gold miners.
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping,
and that's going to trickle feed.
I'm hoping so, because I think you're going to go from majors to mid caps, and we'll be a mid cap, and we've got a good story, and we look underpriced when you compare us to deals, and anyone with a bit of nous should move. But what you need is that capital rotation, and I think if there's too many other shiny objects, crypto, tech stocks, I think we're going to fit in there somewhere, like we did in 2020, 2021. We ran when they ran. And I think you've got to have that trickle down rotation of capital come through the space. I think you'll have that. But at any point in the next, from 2024 to 2027, where this route map shows, at some point, we will be in that liquidity cycle for this commodity, for that amount of people, unless something fundamentally changes. But I think double digits is too far to hope for into Jan, to be honest. I would love it. I'd be so
at the same time.
That's what my mind is telling me, but I think we're beaten down. I'm beaten down. Why do you think I'm going for 15, 18p? My God, I sold my daughter's shares in an ISA at 18p like 4 years ago. Like, I'm hoping for 18p now. Believe me, I'm just trying to sort of, but these days I'm trying to work that back to a market cap. And I think, but I think even if you work it back to a market cap in the current situation, we're undervalued. If you put a very modest PE of like 3 to 5, we're undervalued. But we do still need to deliver, and we do still need to show that that's a fixed plant that doesn't have newly existing problems. We do still need to demonstrate that Newcrest were fucking us over with the reserves and ounces
that's
throughout.
What we've got to wait for,
we do still need to find something in the West Dome deeps. That story needs to get out, and I think in a miner like us now, a mid-tier, that takes 6 months.
Sorry, Matt's nasal hairs just said you don't get out of bed until you've lost at least 10 grand. Sorry.
I mean, Vance, if you've got your pension in it like I do, sometimes that is exactly what it is. And it affects your moods. Yeah. And it's not money I need now. I need it in 10 or 15 or 20 years' time.
And that's the thing with real people, isn't it? Is you can tell exactly what the share price is doing by the way people are talking to each other.
Yeah.
On the internet. You really can. I don't even need to see what the share price
is. Well, it's a good acid test. So when things are a bit exciting, you probably don't have the crypto side to me, but I always find it interesting how the psychology of it works, because once every couple of hours I want to check my balance, because hey, we're humans, and even though I'm doing nothing with it today, I just need to see it again. And it's funny because I can either go into Hargreaves Lansdowne and check it, or I can go into GGP. and that's not to check the price, it's to check the mood. Yeah. And I have to say, of late, because it's been more positive, I go into GGP chat first. I go into Telegram when I'm at work at 11 in the morning, and I go, let's see how GGP is going. I could just go check the price, the live price on HL in my account, and see my balance. But I don't, because I'm obviously hoping it's gone up, and I want to see, there's 25 messages. Is it a spat? Is it a spat, or has it moved? And I wanted to ask what you do. Which do you check first? Do you check your portfolio price, or do you check the chat?
No. Always first message of the day, good morning, great lenders, is straight into main chat. Always, without fail, is the first place I go. I can go days without checking the share price.
Oh, I envy you. I envy you, my friend. I think that's because I'm in crypto. I think if I wasn't in crypto, I'd be all right. But I haven't been sleeping very well of late, and even though I'm going to bed quite early, like virtually the same time as my young daughters, but I can't get past 4. Just cannot get past. But I'm falling asleep at 9, half 9, or maybe 10 if I've been watching the football. Liverpool. Sorry, had to throw that one in there. Plastic scouse over here, and we're on top of the world. But at the moment. I haven't been getting much sleep. So 4 in the mornings when I do my research, and that's kind of been that way for the last 4 years, really. I never used to be an early riser at all. I miss the teenage days where you could sleep till 12. Imagine that.
Amen.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm up at 4, and so I go through the podcasts and I go through the research, and I find quite a lot of peace for those 2 hours before I jump on a train.
Nigel's just made. I'm not dismissing what you just said there. I appreciate that. Like, sleep is a strange old thing when you get to our age. where is it? Nigel just said double digits on ASX listing. I mean, that has to happen unless we get a waiver, because there's a minimum entry fee of. It would have
Look at
changed.
it. So
It was
ASX
11p.
in the route plan or the map here is it's June quarter. Now I think if we've learned anything about their use of quarters, it's kind of it's the month, right? It's the month. If it's December quarter, it's in December. If it's the June fucking quarter, it's in June. I think.
You've got to take worst case scenario. I think they're going to move on it. I think.
I like that they use quarters, because you got to put this in a 4-month time frame. If you think it's June, we've all known it. We thought it was fucking 2 years ago. So that things push out in mining, and again, all of the talking heads with 30 years experience that I've watched over my time have always said Harvard and double it. It's one of those. If they say June quarter, give yourself to the end of the year for it. Give yourself that 6 months. Just don't. Yeah. If it doesn't happen in that, there's something wrong. But don't expect on the 1st of June.
No, I think I think timelines are going to change, but I think they're gonna have once they get their hands on Telfer, and our destiny becomes our own problem, things are going to be a lot more linear and progressive, and we'll know that this is the path we're taking, and we're just going to have to go down that path one step at a time, but together, not with other people dictating to us how our path is going to work. The producers just also said, and I wholeheartedly agree with this, consolidation before the ASX listing. So we've got to go through that process as well, which is
I'm not
going to
looking
to the
forward
vote,
to that. I won't lie. But it's not because of my previous experiences, which have been bad, and we're not that sort of company. So I don't think that matters. And I think we're still only pounds. We're not hundreds of pounds. I'm buying MicroStrategy shares at $400 a share, and that's after a stock split. They would have been $4,000 a share. They only stock split because people couldn't afford the unit cost anymore. So going from 7p to 70p or 7p to £1 in a consolidation, we're not quite a penny stock anymore. We're a pound stock, and we can move. And if you might fuck about with £1.20, £1.30, 25, all of that, but at some point you're fucking about with £1, £3, £3, £5. You're fucking about in pounds, not in pennies anymore. So I do see it. I think it's gonna happen. I do. I think you can't, you don't want to have 13 billion shares in issue.
Yeah, he wants a lot less than that, doesn't he?
And also, this makes a lot of sense, guys. Didn't Sean say, which was very strange at the time, 10 to 1 or 13 to 1? How many shares do we have tomorrow?
I was just looking at that. A lot.
13 billion, right?
Immediately following.
There's where your 13 to 1 came from. There's where your 13 to 1 came from. 13 billion shares we'll have tomorrow, won't we?
Do you really think he thought that far in advance? He was going to have 13 billion shares.
Where's the number 13 to 1 in a consolidation come from? Come on. They're round numbers. They're always round numbers. It's come from and it's not coincidence we've got 13 billion shares. He wants to consolidate back to 1 billion shares. Makes perfect sense to me.
I'd had the conversation with somebody that the reason why you wouldn't do 10 to 1 is because it's too easy to equate it back to the original share price. So if you make it something not 10, it's you stop thinking about the old share price. Do you know what I mean? Because you just go if you 10 to 1 it and we went to £1, we would end up just going, oh well, actually it's only. Let's say it went to £1.07. We'd be like, well, actually it's only 7p in it. That's what we keep saying.
I think what's often the problem is a consolidation is usually not done with the fundamental base or reason. It's done because something used to be 70p and it's now down at 4p, and they don't want the chart to look bad, and it's not done for the right reasons, and it comes back even further. This is not that case. The fundamentals couldn't be stronger, and producers just sent a brilliant graph. Hopefully, can I show you that? Let's see.
Has he sent it to you because I've not acknowledged it? He's been doing that tonight.
Let's see.
I've noticed that. He sends me something and then I don't talk about it. So he sends it to
backwards. You. Love it. The top one, DeLog is gold, and
let me see if I can put it on the
Strenum is
screen.
miners.
let me see if I
Now,
can put it on the
you
screen.
can still see it there. What's happened, which is sort of reasonably unique, is gold has made its move and the miners haven't. And of course, they are very highly correlated. And that post says that it's going to be a rip your face off type of gold bull market. Now, if you happen to have shares in a company that was very undervalued in the mid-cap space, wouldn't you like gold to have made its run without miners having moved yet? Because I'd like to have my face ripped off in that scenario and context.
When you put it like that, mate, when you put it like that, hang on, I'm just trying to, is that the picture?
And I personally believe this time next year, we're over 3,000 gold.
There you go.
There we go. That's very telling, man. Look at the correlation. That goes way further back, by the way, but that's back to 2010. You know, it's a nice macro graph. It's not a year. It's not the last 3 months when gold's made a move. That goes all the way back to 2010. Look where we are. We've taken the last dip, but we haven't taken the up yet. And again, what that looks very similar to is every other graph I see in the crypto space, in the global liquidity space. I follow all of those closely, and we are entering what's called the banana zone. And the banana zone, it happens in all assets, especially more so in risk assets. And we are risk assets as leveraged miners now, a leveraged miner now, rather than gold, physical gold as a safe haven. And I think for those listening who don't understand this, I'll summarize it in 2 minutes. In 2008, the world reset. We had the financial crisis, and most people living through that, you lived through that, I lived through that. When that happened, I didn't know what it meant, because it didn't mean a lot for me. I kept my job. I wasn't a banker. It didn't seem like there was a financial crisis. I wasn't buying a house at the time, and all those things. It didn't feel like much happened, but there was a fundamental shift, as seismic as when we went off the gold standard. And people need to understand what that shift was. That shift was the resetting of interest rates globally throughout the world to zero. And what that did was it bailed out the banks and it bailed out the governments who had become too highly leveraged on bad debt. And essentially that zero interest rate stayed for the next decade. So it allowed banks and governments to catch up and get their GDPs up and be able to basically not have to pay back debt. And what it did also was, like when everyone gets given a sabbatical when they get chupied over to a new company, what happens? We all get the sabbatical at the same time. What that does is it creates a cycle, creates a bottleneck. And just like with house mortgages in 2008, the whole world, I'm talking governments and banks, refinanced at the same time. And they refinanced anywhere between 3 to 5 years with short-term debt, which was the only interest rates they could afford to bail themselves out. Okay. And then every 3 years, like a mortgage, or 5 years, and of course the average between the two is 4, every 4 years, they have to refinance. The mortgage comes due and they refinance at the new interest rate, which, guess what, was zero. And then they did another 4 years and zero. But what it created was this cycle every 3 to 5, but 4, and exactly in line with the American election cycle and exactly in line with the Bitcoin halving cycle. And these are all just metrics to go through. It's also in line with a lot of metrics on gold. And we now have a perpetual 4-year cycle of liquidity. 2 years roughly bear market, 2 years roughly bull market. And that's purely created by the debasement of currency when governments have to inject liquidity to pay off the interest of their debt, which when you remortgage and suddenly you go from 2% to 5%, there's a gap. And what they do is they create money out of nothing, liquidity, through quantitative easing and fiscal stimulus and every other stimulus they can find, or just nakedly giving it to people. That's a cycle now, and it can't be changed. It can't be changed. We're all every government's bankrupt. Their debt to GDP is the same as a household earning 1,000 and paying interest on the loan of 2,000 or 1,200. You're bankrupt. But we can't counterfeit money. Governments can counterfeit money. And so what we're going to experience, I think, for the next year is what Roll Paul, who I follow, calls the banana zone. We're going to experience an exponential hockey stick curve in all assets. And that's got nothing to do with fundamentals. It's got nothing to do with technicals. It's actually got nothing to do with GGP. It's got to do with global liquidity. And we are about to have the world's governments and banks refinance. And what's happened to interest rates?
They're coming down at the moment.
Coming down from 4 years ago.
Oh, no, they're up from 4 years ago.
Yeah. How much are they up?
I've just been told I don't know, I think it's like, is it
4.79%? Hundreds of percent. You know, I refinanced my mortgage. I was very lucky. I did a 5-year 2 years ago and I got 1.99. And I was very lucky. Yeah, wow, indeed. 1.99, and I'm 2 years into that. It ends refinance at end of 2027. My friends who went for 2 years and were on different scales, just by pure luck as to when you bought your house and what you took at the time, are having to pay an extra 500, 1,000. So what people don't understand, a mortgage going from 2% to 3% is a 50% increase in your repayments.
Wow. So
it's big money. And it's happening at governmental levels. So it's totally unaffordable. They can't afford it, just like all the unfunded pension liabilities and all the rest throughout that's endemic through the system. It's a debt-based system. The debt must grow to keep feeding itself, or everything collapses and there's a run on the bank and there's nothing there. The tide's gone out and there's no clothes.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Is there's no way out of it. They put themselves in this position.
Well, there is a way out of it. Unfortunately, we have to join them. We have to purchase assets, whether that's GGP stock, whether that's gold, whether that's Bitcoin, whether it's a house, whether it's, whatever it is. It needs to be something that people can't create out of thin air.
Right.
Can't be fiat money. It cannot be a fiat money based item. Every fiat based system over the entire history of man, every single one has gone to zero. From the Romans biting out of the coins to changing the silver content, every single fiat currency, and the entire world is fiat currency. Fiat means backed by government decree, i.e. we promise you it's worth something, i.e. nothing since we went off the gold standard. But every fiat currency in the history of fiat currencies has gone to zero. Another thing people don't know about recent history, which I was really shocked to learn personally, but it's worth thinking about. If some of you, and I know it's some of us, or some of the people listening to this are pensioners. Okay, so I know they've got lots of money, and I know they don't have an income to replace that money. And I think you should look long and hard, really long and hard, about what platforms you're in, where your pension's kept, and whether you should diversify platforms and areas. So I think in the UK, you get up to 85,000 protected by the government if your platform goes bankrupt or what have you. So it's a little different. We hold shares in a stock. So if the platform went bankrupt, our shares would remain unless they sold our shares nefariously and went to jail. But regardless, if the HL went bankrupt, our shares would remain and Great and Gold could list on another, and you wouldn't lose your money. But your cash savings in banks, or your cash savings in Hargreaves Lansdown, if you've got any, you've only got I'm talking about people who probably their life savings. So 85 actually isn't a hell of a lot if you're retired, just about to retire, and it's your life savings. You've only got that 85 grand. And what you don't realize is that you can be bailed in. Did you know that you could be bailed in by your bank, Liam? So let's say you have £20,000 in your bank, and there is a run on your bank, and it's hypothecated, which means creating money 10 times from a loan. So they loan you £1,000 and they loan 10 other people £1,000, but they only ever had £1,000 deposit. They loan £10,000 out, they have £1,000 deposit. That's hypothecation. So obviously if everyone comes back to take their £1,000 out, there was only ever £1,000 run on the bank, and it'll go bankrupt like Silicon Valley and all the others before it. If that happens, like it happened in Europe in very recent history, I think it was 2016, the banks can bail you in. So if you deposit your £1,000, it's sitting in HSBC, sitting there right now, it's £1,000, you put it in. Do you know from the moment you put it in, it doesn't belong to you?
That wouldn't surprise me.
Even when you leave it in cash, even when you leave it in cash, it doesn't belong to you. that contract, putting it in, it doesn't belong to you anymore. And do you know that if the bank goes bankrupt, they can bail you in? They can take your £1,000 cash to keep their bank alive if it means that you were going to lose 1,000, but they could take 800 away from you to pay for their mismanagement and trading and whatever reasons they went bankrupt. If they can give you 200 back rather than nothing back, they're allowed to take your 800.
That is incredibly mind-blowing and numbing.
Yeah.
And
let's get back to GGP.
But as I say, let's get back to GGP. Let's lighten the mood. Woo!
Woo! So ASX listing June quarter. That's the first thing at the top of our post-completion pathway, right? And then we've got tell for high confidence 15-month mine plan. It's worth pausing on that, right? Because that really is the money spinner. We already know that we are going to be paying Newmont an extra 50 million, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that's US or AU again. So 25 or 50 million extra just because of how much the stockpiles increased by tomorrow. So there's small share that they still will get over the next year of processing. Just by the stockpile increasing, they get 50 million out of that.
Yeah, that's written down on this document that I've got open here somewhere. I shouldn't cover my microphone up, otherwise people can't hear me very well.
So I think
but
that's why
I've had it on good authority, nudge, wink, that there is more ore on that stockpile today than there was in September.
There should be, but obviously there's been a few things going on. I mean, I've been at work all day, but did you have any thoughts on? I didn't read, and I still haven't read which conditions they've waived.
Yes, that's all here in front of me. As described in paragraph 2, part 2, the administration document, certain adjustments are payable by the buyers to the sellers in respect of the run-of-mine or stockpiles at Telfer to be acquired by the enlarged group on acquisition completion. Run-of-mine or stockpiles, or ROM stockpiles, or the ROM pad as it's known, as at 1st of October were 10,585,171 tonnes. Let's just say 10 million tonnes. According to acquisition completion, an adjustment of 45.9 million Australian dollars, that's Australian, will be paid by the buyers to the seller for each tonne at a rate of $10 a tonne for each tonne of ROM stockpile above the, So they're going to pay them.
Well, but they're not going to pay at all. In other words, from when we did the completion, from everything, we've got another, 20 million tons or 2 million tons on top of it. And they're going to get 50 million or 25 million US out of that. And we're going to make how much out of 2 million extra tons? A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. If we've only got what's it, 15-month mine plan at how many? 426,000. Oh, so that's not in tons, so we can't really do that extrapolation, but.
No, but we're going to make I think it's about $34 million a month profit.
It's obscene, and I think what I'm really excited to see is we haven't really seen Sean as unchained ever. He's always been very careful with his words. He's always been pretty commercial with his dealings with even Newcrest, who were fucking us over. He was very commercial in his dealings, whilst sort of winking that he knew they were fucking us over. So I'm very interested to see the news flow. I'm very interested to see. This has been a long delay, right? They've been planning and optimizing, and they're not just going, oh, well, once it goes through, we'll start working on the feasibility study, right? They're not doing that. They've had a whole very, 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 yes, they've been working on the deal. I get that. That's been a big focus, but they've also had a lot of time extra, I would say, to progress things. And all the while, as far as we know, drilling's been continuing in West Dome Deeps and places like that. So how many drill results might we get released? Might we get to, there's your 11p or 10p. If we get some drill results in January on the West Dome Deeps that have been stored up for the better part of a year and they're high grade, oh my God.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Is all those catalysts. Like he if you go back and listen and watch him when we talk about that in our interview, it appeared to me that there is a lot more information to come out of Telfer. There is a lot more to unlock. I mean, he said it even in the previous, not this interview, but previously, that when you look at, and this is like one of the things that he does, he's very good at this, and it's just sort of, you got to get attuned to it, is he talks about Northern Star. So when you look at Northern Star, they took over a mine, it was on its arse, there was nothing left of it, and it's still going to date, and that was 10 years ago. And so he's signposting that's exactly what they're going to do here with Telfer, let alone having a 20-year mine Javier on.
And I think what nobody really realizes, there's been a fundamental shift that no one's picking up here, that no one's putting that option value to. Gold price, good God. All of these end of life, end of mine. If you were telling Newcrest that the gold price was 2,700, what was their modeled gold price? 1,350, I think it was. When it was back in the day,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Is it end of life at $2,700?
Is it fact?
You think they would have thought about selling it if they were positive it was going to go to $2,700? If they could switch on the mining profit tomorrow at $2,650? I mean, it's obscene. It's even higher, and obviously in Aussie dollars. So it's one of those where that is huge. We've all heard the stories. If you've been in mining for a little while, you've all heard the stories of reopening an old mine when the gold price goes high, of being able to re-drill lower grade ore and be able to make a profit again. And just think of how little capital allocation and how unloved this asset has been for how long. It's at least 4 years, maybe 6 years.
And he keeps talking about it needing love. You know, this is now going to be a mid-cap company with a flagship asset that it is going to love. You know, Telfer is going to, over the next 12 months, undergo a change as it realizes that it's wanted and it's needed, and the staff realize that they're no longer playing second fiddle to Cadia or anything else, you know. So it's
I hope they incentivize them.
It's just the beginning.
I hope they incentivize them. I can't lie. Had I, without this foresight and now hindsight, the employee share options seemed excessive to me originally.
I think
when
that's
I saw
an Australian thing, though, isn't it?
You know what? We didn't have the money to go in and pay Elizabeth Gaines and Mark Barnaby and all these big wigs and pull them from Northern Star on a big salary. We didn't have the money to do it. And if we did, we risked Newcrest seeing our balance sheet and in our annual accounts and just going, fuck it, we just chill for another year, they'll be dry, and we take them. So the strategy, I think, goes all the way through something like that.
That's
where
a great shout.
You don't employ these caliber of people without making it a ridiculous payday. It needs to be a ridiculous payday. It's me leaving my happy job where I've been for 15 years, where I've built this wonderful little minute empire that I'm proud of, to throwing it all away and going somewhere else.
Yeah.
What were you going to give me? You're going to give me 10, 20% more? You're going to promise a bonus if it all succeeds? No. I want skin in the game. I want the opportunity to be rich. Yeah. If it works, and I think that's what he's done,
don't they? Yeah,
they're delivering on it now. When we go through and when we do end up where we all hope we end up, take your options. You've earned them, but I think they're in the process of earning them. I still think they're a little excessive.
Yes, they
because
I think
the share price hasn't performed well, and that's nothing to do with them.
No, it isn't. And I think Dip alluded to that earlier, that actually now is the time, despite the 3 years waiting to get to here, now we get to here. This is the point where the board they have to.
I judge Sean in the next year. Now it's Sean. Now it's in his control. Now there's no excuse. Now the share price should matter, because there was no control in the uncertainty, and anyone who had an ounce and the big money knew what was going on. They've been through this before. They knew how long this process was going to take. Well, why sit and park your capital? With all due respect, MicroStrategy's done 2,400% this year. You can't watch NVIDIA. You can't watch these other things and go, let's just sit there for a year with all the uncertainty that it might not even happen. Oh, and the plant's broken. Oh, and the tailing facility's broken. Oh, when you think of those things combined for the big money that needs to move us to 11p and take us from 944 billion to 1.4 billion, well, it's just a small 400 million worth of extra market cap. It ain't coming from Mr. PI, is it?
No, that needs growth, and that needs the company to direct that. With all these things,
it needs the uncertainty removed, and I hope what tomorrow brings is not we've completed. I hope that's where I think we could move into the 8s tomorrow. If he's been holding something back and he's now with the owners tomorrow, that's where I hope he drops a little clanger where he says, we give some numbers where he says the stockpile today is X, where he's able to come out and release something at the same time we've completed and our projected we've turned on train 2 and we'll be at full capacity in 5 days, milling this for the projected for the next 3 months. Do you know what I mean? Just a bit more substance than deal's gone through, we've completed, but because we kind of know everything. We know the wave conditions, we know everything other than Newmont get 20% tomorrow, our market cap goes to 944, PIs freak out stupidly thinking it's going to drop, sell some shares, don't get back in at a lower price, and we're where we were. I think we go to 8p if he's got something in the bag, and I think he should have something in the bag, don't you? I think I'm hoping for that. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I'm sort of thinking there's enough in there where no one's talked about any production from this place for a long time.
Almost like a strategic. We're turning on train 2, and it's going to make us an arbitrage, 35-40 million.
Even just a little run of the mill. We used to say TCF8 sorted. We've been running train 2 continuously for the last X amount of time.
Yeah.
There was some repair work here, and we're about to turn on train 2, and we expect to be in full capacity in X amount of days, milling X amount of ounces for this foreseeable future.
Gives the market something tangible to listen
to. Something where someone's going to extrapolate and go, shit, if they just do that over Christmas, man, that's 32 mil. Like, whatever it is, I think can't just say we've completed the deal, because then we're waiting for those first revenue numbers. The market's going to wait for those first revenue numbers or those first drill results from West Dome Deeps, or something that's going to be tangible to say, are we going to get Havarian in time? And what we don't, you know what we actually want now? We don't want Havarian mined until 2030.
No, we want to.
I never thought I'd say that. Never thought I'd say that, mate.
Javier is just a chapter in this story. It's no longer the story. It's now a chapter in a bigger story, which is amazing.
If we can get that, if we can, build the block cave and second access, whilst cherry picking a stockpile, whilst mining the West Dome Deeps and pushing that out to 2027, then you combine the ores on shift whilst you finish off the block cave, and in 2030, both of those trains are full. If you find something in the West Dome Deeps and you do a block cave.
I mean, he's excited about the
West Dome Deeps.
And
then we are in the pounds.
I think the West Dome Deeps is going to be a major discovery. I won't put numbers on it because that's silly. But he.
I'm trying to measure my excitement there, because I just think it's right there. They knew about it. If it was that exciting, I don't know, man. Shit, they gave up Havarian, didn't they?
Can I tell you something that Callum said to me in a text message when I spoke to him about it? The gold that they've already mined out of the West Dome has had to have come through the West Dome Deeps.
It has to have, right? It comes from underneath, not above.
So there's all that gold that they've just taken out of West Dome, and it's come through the West Dome Deeps. So it's almost insinuating, and I am putting words in my / Callum's mouth here, there is more gold under West Dome Deeps than what there was in West Dome, purely because of the way these things work.
And I also think there's method to state that the grades increase at depth.
Well, I mean, that's a horrible thing.
Well, it's just mathematics, right? If it's coming out of a source and it's going up, it's being diluted on the way up. It's being mixed with other stuff. It has to be, right? So it's just mathematics. The deeper you go, if you can find that source, it's going to be higher grade. We've seen that with Havarian. I won't lie. I kind of just please fucking drive a drill rig down the decline and drill one hole 2,000 meters straight down so it's not open at depth anymore. I just want to know. Like, just one drill. Just fucking just go to the center of the earth. I just want to know.
How
you know
deep
what I mean?
is Javier on?
I'm just like, don't wait 2 years to get a drill down that decline. It's one of the things I've been waiting for. Like, yes, we can drill down the decline. We can go under the open at depth. And for the same reasons, the source is down there.
Yeah.
And the grades are increasing. So, yeah, and we know we can mine that deep. So, yeah, I'd be a little disappointed if within the next year, at least something wasn't done on the drilling in Havarian. Yeah, just a little. Just
Just
it's open. It's open in various. You don't need to redefine a resource, but bash a hole or two in it, please, man.
No, I hear you, and it's from that point of view, like this comes down to, and it's coming back to that timeline thing that I've taken off the screen. If we screen window, that one, share, there we go.
We got something from Hydro here. Sean has repeatedly said to me and others privately and publicly, the moment we get 100%, we're going to really hit the market. Never certain to what extent this was, just a carrot to keep me and others engaged, if you know what I mean. But he doesn't strike you as that sort. He's an operator. No. Yes, yeah. But he says it how it is. SD needs to be cautious about what he says. He doesn't want to piss off Newmont. So that would maybe allude to what we've just been discussing, that maybe tomorrow is a bit more than a completion date, because I have to say, I personally was very surprised they released that RNS on Monday.
I reckon that was.
I know they probably did have to do it to say that they'd waive some conditions. It all makes sense, but Jesus, you don't signpost something like this when you've already signposted early December. So unless that was a regulatory requirement to do in advance, it was to do in advance to say you can't do that on the completion day.
No, okay. Well, I don't know about the actual timing of it, but on the original documentation, there was a line that said, if we agree to waiver some of the conditions and bring it forward, we will tell the market.
Okay.
And there was someone sent me an email this week that they'd had an email back from Sean that alluded to the fact, if we change our mind, we will send an RNS. And then literally a day later, the RNS appeared. So, okay. And the things we've wavered.
Oh, so no need to read into that. But I do read into the fact that I think we're going to get, I think there's a non-zero certainly, but I think maybe even a 30% chance that we get a little more color tomorrow. It's our first day as great in gold tomorrow. It better not just be we've completed on the deal. You've got the details.
I hear what you're saying. So we need to get the receipt of the approval from the relevant state minister for the transfer of a Crown lease relating to the Telfer pipeline infrastructure. So that's a Crown lease thing. There's the receipt of third-party contracts consents related to the operation of Telfer pipeline. So that's all listed without. The sellers being granted a license under Part 5 of the EP Act, authorising the operation of the evaporation ponds at Javieron. We should note that as of tomorrow, that closes. So the public consultation for that closes tomorrow. So that's actually going to move on a step tomorrow.
And let's be honest, we don't really need them evaporation ponds tomorrow.
It's not going to make a big difference, but the satisfaction of which price of acquisition completion has been waived by the buyers in accordance with the terms of the acquisition agreement. The acquisition completion will be subject to the issue and allotment of the consideration shares to Newmont. The company has determined that realising the commercial benefits of proceeding to acquisition completion promptly outweighs the benefits of waiting for the satisfaction of the remaining unsatisfied acquisition conditions. Easy for me to say. The primary commercial benefit of proceeding to acquisition completion promptly is that the enlarged group will take ownership and economic benefit of the Telfer gold copper mine, which is expected to produce significant volumes of gold and copper and resulting cash flow. Choo, choo.
It's exciting, mate. You know, I'm glad we did this live stream because I was dead on my feet since 4 this morning. I mean, the way I'm going, I'm going to be up for 24 hours. I'm working from home tomorrow, so at least I can start at 7 at my desk rather than 5 on a train. But
bless you.
What a monumental moment for all of us.
Yes.
And I'm forgetting the share price because it's shit and it sucks, and we've all got family members who got sucked in, and you know, it's a shit show. I've had to pay all mine back again at the lows, so I've felt the pain with everybody else. But we're here, and I think I'm almost glad that those family members aren't here anymore. Because I want the "I told you so" moment in the future, and I think none of us could have imagined where we will be tomorrow. None of us could have. We were hoping that we would maybe have a truck running down a long piece of sandy lane for 30% share and a tolling fee. That's what we were hoping. That's where we were hoping we'd be right now on the 3rd of December, 2024, where 30% of a bunch of trucks running to an aging mine with a major that wasn't going to allocate capital and would probably just have drained us and fucked us along the way.
Yeah.
And where we are now is just immeasurably undervalued and producing tomorrow.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I do think, and half alluded to it.
5 years since discovery and producing gold. Not from our own place, but that's still. And who cares, right?
Who cares? I think the ASX is going to make a bigger impact than a lot of us realize, on the basis of they will have to / they will / someone will realize that we are significantly undervalued compared to our peers, and I think that's probably
that's the key. I think
the most, isn't it? Is peers.
I'm not sure I believe that argument a mere sort of couple years ago, because I've been in lots of shares that we're going to list in the US and it's going to double our share. I've been in lots of those, so
right.
I was skeptical on the dual listing making any difference at all, other than for arbitrage for the institutions, which we're not going to benefit from. But I think that's the passive funds obviously make a good argument. I think quite a few of them are in.
Yeah.
At 4.8p. The ones that aren't passive, I think, are in. The ones that are passive, like MVIS and GDXJ, the Aussie equivalents, superannuations, those will come. And I think so that's worth 10% on the share price.
Yeah.
But not 50 or multiple hundreds or something like people may hope. But I think you're right. You've hit the nail on the head. The Aussie investors, being a resource-based economy, really are hugely in tune with the valuation models, and they can look at something like De Grey, and they can look at something like Northern Star, and they can look at us, and they can realize the focus we now have, and they can ascribe value on their stock exchange where they can invest their pensions over the next 5 years. And now it becomes what I'd like to start doing more research on is our gap analysis, for want of a better phrase, with the remainder of ASX listed miners. What's their reserve to market cap value? What's their PE ratios? All of these things, because I think as a community, if each of us could run with something like that, we'll have a really good idea where we might be in a year's time once the dust settles and the articles are out and when all the numbers are done. And that could really be the 30 million a month. None of that matters if you're on AIM and people don't even know what that means.
Yeah. No.
But I think if somebody can go in and do a comparison, and they're going to put an allocation of their pension into it, if they can do that comparison, if they can do that, the reserve ounces or the indicated ounces versus market cap, if they can do those versus somebody else, they can clearly see that undervaluation. And I think we all know that. I think at this point, at least half. And we're at least 50% undervalued for where we are right now. That's my opinion. I think we should be 14p. That's what we should be, just with what we know and what we have right now. That's not forward looking at all.
No. And there is so much to come, isn't there? Because we're still valued with that bloody pre-feasibility study. That's what's anchoring us, is that.
I think we bought Telfer on that, but I don't think we're valued on it anymore. I think we're valued on the more recent MRE. Was it 6.4?
Something like that.
No, it started with an 8, didn't it? With indicated.
Was it 8.4?
Yeah, and reserves of 3.8, something like that.
I'm digging
I should know these things. I think if you sort of looked at those reserves and discounting the indicated and discount cash flow with that we're valued on that, I think, at the moment. Yeah. No Telfer, no forward looking, no Stockpile, no nothing, just that. Because really, if you look back to it, that sort of 5% exercise, that taught us a lot, I think, as a group.
It did indeed.
It certainly brought me back down to earth. And whilst I still see the blue sky and I still see the other side of the Son curve, and I still see, in a perfect world, pounds, not pence, I also still see the possibility of being here for 5 years and not breaking 30.
I mean,
I have to say, I do see that too.
And can I ask and talk about, as someone that doesn't really always understand these things, is that because it's our MCAP that now becomes the prevalent figure, and
yeah, that's all.
To
get
to that price, you've got to have an absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's all about, you can't look at unit costs. It's a bit like looking at crypto at the moment. People are all running around buying these meme coins, and they're buying dino coins that have never had fundamentals and were basically dead, but people made money last cycle 4 years ago, so they're hoping to do the same now. And what you're seeing people buy unit cost. They're going in and they're saying that one's 84 cents, and then somebody's moving from the picture of the frog to the picture of the dog. Why are they moving from the picture of the frog to the picture of the dog? Because it's 24 cents. And so they're focusing on the unit cost without looking at the market capitalization or the amount of shares in issue. And so they're going, well, for 24 cents to go to $1 is a 4x. That's not far away. I'm going to buy the 24 cents one, not the 84 cents one. Not realizing that that's madness, because the 24 cents one has billions of coins or shares in issue, and the 84 cents one has millions of shares. It's the same pizza with 8 slices or 12 slices. It's the same. That's the argument.
Yes.
That's the argument. It's the pizza argument. It's the same fucking pizza. 12 slices, 8 slices. People need to understand that, and they need to understand that, for us to get to 33p, go do the maths. Go do the maths of how much money that is, and then tell me where that money's coming from, and what the gold price needs to be, and what our assets need to be, and what our PE ratio needs to be. And when you actually do more than reading a chat board, you're able to come out with some more realistic numbers. Yes. And it doesn't mean the blue sky doesn't exist. Doesn't mean the optionality that's not priced in doesn't exist. That's all there. That's why we're here, and it's very possible. But if it just runs to the run of the mill and we don't get that optionality, even 30p in 5 years is very high. We could easily be 20p in 5 years.
Keep talking. I need to refresh. So I'm going to drop off live and I'll come straight back in. But please keep talking, because you are still live.
Okay. Well, for the 3 people who might still be watching, we'll move a bit through this plan over here. So ASX listing, as we've just discussed, lots to go through there. Now this Telfer high confidence mine plan that runs through the whole of 2025. It's 15 months, right? So it's from now, 15 months. Well, that was quick. So it's from now for 15 months. So, we're looking at early 2026. Then this is the key, and people need to look at this, right? So Havarian development construction, yes, it sort of starts, it runs from now through to the middle of 2026, when they can start some ore production. Remember that ore production is not ore processing, it's stockpiling. So when you're looking at that map, what you have to
Hines says good night.
Oh, good night, buddy.
Thanks
for everything. We'll see you in the morning, my friend. Yeah, so I think what you've got to realize there is there is a gap. Let's, even if what, and I think the market is going to look at things like this, unfortunately, and this is why I'm hoping Sean brings out some drill results pretty quickly to show that we can get gold within the next 12 months from somewhere else, because the 15-month mine plan runs to the end of 2025. That's it, basically. So then you've got to evaluate Telfer short-term extension and opportunities to extend mine plan beyond 15 months. That's written through to 2027, but it's evaluate, right? So short-term extension is going to be the cutbacks, I think. Now, well, no, that's all that's in there, actually. So it's going to be the cutbacks in the West Dome Deeps. If they don't find anything or can't do anything with that, we're going to have a gap. We're going to stop processing in 2026. And we can only start if we really start moving with all production middle of 2026. So we've got 6 months without a mill in the middle there. So that shows you how important this West Dome Deeps is. That shows you how important these cutbacks are. We've got 6 months there where really, if we don't demonstrate to the market in the next 6 months that we can pull that up, we're going to be penalized for that.
Yes, I don't disagree with that. But when you listen to what Sean said last week in my interview with him, relating to that again, he was very confident that because that was one of our supporter questions, that there is going to be something after 15 months. So I think you're right. I think he's got 6 months to lay the groundworks for those next steps and give us a pathway to the feasibility study and how he's going to bring Javier online, because that's the key. Linking to Javier.
Well, this is where I think he needs more, because with all due respect to us, we know this. You've spoken to him. We've seen that interview. How many general investors in the AIM and soon to be ASX markets have seen or know any of that? They've seen this. They're just looking at their corporate plan. They've gone onto the website. They've watched Diggers and Dealers. They've seen this. And believe me, people, you don't go beyond the company's guidance to make up your own mind unless you're deep diving. And if you're deep diving, you would have seen the interviews and you would have had the information we have. So I think we're front running that information, and therein for me lies the apathy within the market for now.
It's a very interesting point, and we can only do so much in terms of spreading the word, can't we? Do you know what I mean? Like this, when you think about how many people, how many shares are on, how many people are invested in the company, and how many people I reach, I probably don't reach. I wouldn't even like to put a figure on it. I'd love to know what the number is. Like, what percentage of Greatland shareholders do I reach with my media?
Got to be 5%. I'm going with 5. It's thousands of people over the 5 years. So you know, and I know it's getting late. We just ticked over to 12, and if Stewie Hines has gone to bed, I suppose we
should consider it. A big shout out to Red Irons, who's just sent me a lovely message.
Let's go
buy me a
through
coffee. So Red Irons, thank you. I've got that. I appreciate that. Stu, listen, I genuinely think we should, and I need to start tying Gaffer down into this as well. We should, and we could very easily make this a quarterly meeting, because we're going to get quarterly updates with information in them, and that's what the company's going to do now. I firmly believe that you're not going to get these little snippets. You're going to get a quarterly update with bang, 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 bang. This is what's happened. This is what we're going to do. This is the next quarter. So I think we could very easily have a quarterly catch up.
Very, very happy to commit to that. Very happy to commit. And look how professional we've become.
Oh man, how professional!
I mean, you just still start recording when I didn't know you were. But outside of that, I think that's just always going to happen, right? I always think we're going to have a Zoom chat first, and then you're going to press the record button, and we chat, and then I'm like, "Are you recording?" Oh shit! All right. And you also do always seem to spring these on me when I've been at a work lunch or something. I've got to. Everyone thinks I'm a raging alcoholic. I mean, I do drink a bit, but it's not all the time. Maybe it is all the time. It seems to be all the time, right?
Yeah. All right, that's grand. Right, very, very quickly before we wrap up and I cut Stu off and stuff. Viewers, the 93 people that are still.
There's 93 people still watching.
Still watching. Yeah, the numbers are held. Cool. It's been up and down, but it's held. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting us entertain you over the last 3 or 4 years. We would never have thought that we would get to where we are today, to the point that we're owning a mine and we are going mining in the morning. We now have 8 hours until 8 o'clock. So
very cool.
It's very, very exciting. And I'm really excited.
Same for me. Thanks to 1,144 members in the chat. Thanks to everyone who's watched. It's been ups, it's been downs. I hope you know Liam, me, all the other guys involved. Just do this because we love to share, and we like to hope that we can help people along the journey. And if you find any help with us, then it's been a success, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks to all of you, and it's been a long way. We deserve our rewards. And they'll come. This is our year, 2025. Not 22 like I hope, not 23 like I hope, not 24 like I hope, but 2025.
At some point, Stu, just like a clock, you're gonna be right.
Yeah, well, this is the hand I'd go all in with poker on. The last few, I'd be tanking for a long time and probably folding.
You're holding
Whereas
a pair of aces now.
This is the year I'd go all in on, and there's the difference. There's hope, and then there's educated guessing.
Yeah, and this is becoming a lot more educated now, right? Stu,
Indeed.
Thank you so much for the last 2 hours of being here.
Pleasure. Thank you, sir, for everything. You've been a wonderful leader for us all, mate.
I miss these, and just recording and broadcasting is something I really do secretly enjoy it, and I'd love to do more of it. So thank you.
You're a wonderful conversationalist. You let me speak. Most people don't, because I obviously talk way too much. But
I was given some good advice early on in my journey here, and it was Stu actually. I'm not gonna lie, it was Stu who said it, and he said to me, Liam, I love what you're doing, but you need to be more like Parky and less like Rossi. And so I actually went away and I watched a Parkinson interview, and then I swiftly watched it with the Jonathan Ross interview, realised what he meant, and it has what's paved the way for the interviews and what we do now, especially with Sean, is I speak as little as possible and let him do the talking, because that's what the guests want, that's what the viewers want.
You've got a real talent, and the fact that you give it all to us for free is quite admirable, so thank you, sir.
It's a passion. It really is a passion. Right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much. It's just gone midnight here where I live, and I need to get out of this suit because I've been in it for a few hours now. Not my usual, not my normal thing. Swatty, I really hope we meet one day and you tell me exactly how to say that. You've been here for the
I love that you drank a Hungarian beer for us this evening, by the way, Liam. So one last cheers to you, please, sir. One last cheers to you. Even if it's an empty can.
Everybody. Cheers to everybody.
Cheers to everyone. Looking forward to tomorrow and the rest of the journey with you all.
There was a little bit left in there. Right. On that bombshell, I'm going to hang this. This is the problem when you go live. Is there's no like intros, no outros. It's all very like push the button and all of a sudden you're live, and then all of a sudden you're not. And, so anyway, I'm gonna hit the stop button right now, and it's going to go blank. Thank you all very much. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you as miners in the morning. Good night.